European soccer's showpiece summer tournament kicks off this week with the best of the continent's national teams facing off in Germany. And after a club season that saw most favourites claim domestic league glory, does an event like this represent a better opportunity for bettors to take advantage of perhaps bigger market inefficiencies? You're with Dan Roebuck, and for our futures preview, Nigel Seeley, Steve Wyss and Daniele Fisichella are alongside me. Nigel, Italy, 10 to 1 or so. Last time out, Portugal, the previous winners at around about 20s in 2016. Are the European Championships getting more difficult to predict? We've had 8 different winners over the course of the last 9 tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very hard tournament. Obviously, I think it's the quality in this tournament is exceptional. Every team was qualified. It's a smaller format to the World Cup, and I've extended the format now. But I think every team that comes in has a lot of quality of what there used to be previous years, and that you see that in the results. Prior to that, though, in 2012, Spain won it as very short price favourites. Prior to that, Spain won it again as well as a low price favourites. The one thing I would say, in the last 7 Euros, a team at double figure prices minimum have got to the final. You've had Greece winning it as well at 100 to 1, probably the biggest shock in world football in any tournament. I think obviously Leicester succeeded that when they won the Premier League title, but I think that was on the international stage, that was the biggest shock ever. But I do think this time around there is a little bit of a gulf between the top 4 or 5 and the rest of the field. Obviously, the groups, there's a couple of weaker groups, the other tiny groups. But once you get to knockout stages and teams get some kind... I know that word in sport that you don't want to use momentum. Sometimes you hear the word momentum. People use the word momentum and think that they want to like it or they don't like it. But the Italians went into the Euro 2020 last year, or 2021 when it was actually played, and they galvanised as the tournament went on and got better and better and better as the tournament went on. And they believed in themselves. And that happens in these kind of tournaments. Teams that you think might have a chance, they get lucky in the groups and then they get through a penalty shootout and then they suddenly believe they can do it. And I think that happens in major tournaments. So it is wide open. I think this year around, I think there is the top 5. They're a little bit above the other one. But I wouldn't rule out a big price semi-finalist. I would not rule out a big price finalist. But I think one of the big guns will probably win it.
Just picking up on what you were saying there, Nigel, to Daniele and about Italy. Obviously, winners last time out of the European Championships beat England in the final, as we know. Was there a sense that Italy, Daniele, were coming into form ahead of the last European Championships? Was there a bit of confidence behind the team?
Italy came to the last European Championship on the back of 17 positive results, which they extended to 37. So obviously they were onto something. And there was a great belief on the squad, on the coach, Mancini, and on the style of play. It was a different Italy 3 years ago, and we saw it, the transformation under Mancini and Italy. They like to keep the ball, like to attack, were not just happy and content to win the 1-0. But as the tournament went on, then they almost regressed to mean. They had 2 masters of defense like Bonucci and Chiellini, and that was their plan B as well. Go back, defend hard, be tight. Let's absolutely be clear. If it wasn't for the VAR, they would have been knocked out by Austria with a goal by Marko Arnautovic, and against Spain they were under the cosh. So it also having a good team that gets into momentum, but also I think having a plan B as well, because it's not always going to go according to plan. Teams are not always going to dominate possession and create a lot of chances. So it's about who's got more resources, a deeper squad, and able to adapt as the tournament goes on. That's what Italy did.
Steve, bigger prices available for a lot of nations, bigger variance perhaps, bigger rewards for bettors. What's your take?
Well, good day to you all. Hope you're doing really well. And I think Nigel's right. There's always one team, isn't there, in these European Championships that seems to reach, say, the semi-finals at a decent price. I mean, just looking back, Wales were in there in 2016. I don't think many would have seen them do it. I think the last 2 winners have been tricky-ish to find. I mean, I don't think even the most die-hard Italian would have really fancied Italy heading into the last tournament. Portugal kind of won it sort of a few years after they were considered in the top bracket as well. So, but at the same time, I don't think either nation winning it was like massive shocks. I'm looking more at the top of the market here. If you look at the last couple of major worldwide tournaments, Argentina World Cup 2022 were pretty fancied. Strongly fancied on this show, weren't they, on Bet Rivers? We cashed in big. African Nations Cup this season, I know it was in a weird sort of way, but, you know, Côte d'Ivoire delivered, didn't they, as the host nation as well. So, yeah, I do think there's about 3 or 4 teams that logically on paper, there is that gulf, like Nigel suggested. So that's why I would be looking at the top of the market. I think the cream will rise in this particular tournament. I think we could end up with quite a few high class, but ultimately tight and cagey semi-finals, finals, you know.
If that's the case then, Steve, how much do we put on the draw? Because obviously if you win your group, you might avoid certain teams until certain stages. Do you look closely at the draw? We've seen some big teams who've won the European Championships not win their group. Portugal's a great example of that. How much stock do you put in looking at the bracket and thinking, right, if this team wins here, this team wins here, they're going to meet at this stage, I've got to factor that into the prices?
I personally put a lot into it. I have predicted the last 16 lineup myself already. Look, the problem is there's usually always some...
Oh, let us know. Let us know if you've got all the winners.
I mean, the thing is, there's always a spanner in the works, isn't there, somewhere? This is why I can sometimes get a little bit too et up about it. But the thing is, it's not like tennis where you know there's a guaranteed set lineup, a guaranteed draw. But, you know, I'm always a logical person, as you know, Dan. So I think you've really got to look at... I mean, there's certain groups where, to me, it's obvious where the group winner should be. And if you then apply that and add it to the draw, you can often end up with, say, a soft half of the draw and a much tougher half of the draw. I think it's definitely a factor. I perhaps maybe look into it too much. Maybe I add too much weight to it. Maybe there's other people out there who won't really think about that. They're just looking at the quality of the teams. But for me personally, I think the draw is a big thing.
Nigel, you're a draw man.
Well, I think the thing is that from a betting point of view, the draw is factored into the odds. I mean, these bookmakers have huge computer programs that run the probabilities out and show you the percentage chance of someone to win. It's all factored into the price. But one thing you can never rely on, and I think if you go back to World Cups, since I've been involved in betting since about 1990, and European Championships, if you predicted every favourite to win the group, you'd do your money. You'd be losing your money. So whatever Steve thinks is going to happen will not happen. There will be there will be two or three groups that go nowhere to near plan, and there'll be 2 or 3 teams that absolutely bomb out. The last European Championship, everyone fancied France, and they were useless. Tournament, the World Cup, when England got to the semi-final, played all the South American teams bombed out in Russia. So this is like whatever you think. You come here and you think you see a very heavy minus money and think that's going to happen. It's not going to happen. A lot of these countries come here with young players who want to improve, who want to come to the Premier League or to Serie A or big leagues, and they use the opportunity to showcase themselves. And stars will emerge and teams will emerge that no one ever expected. If, however, the draw does go to plan, and the plan is the bottom half of the draw, it will be much stronger at the latter stage than the top half of the draw. That part of the draw will see England, Italy potential as a quarter-final, will see France as a semi-final, and the top half will see the Germans, the Portuguese and Spain. So if it went to the form book, that is where it will happen. I'm hoping it does go to the form book because we've got quarter-final tickets and semi-final tickets for England to win the group in Dusseldorf and Dortmund. If it doesn't, I'll be on the phone to Daniele, see if he wants to buy them off me, or any Spanish friends of mine.
I'll be on the play.
So I hope it goes to form, but one thing you can say in major tournaments is that nothing goes to plan.
It's going to be interesting. Just one final thing before we talk about the major nations and get some picks from the boys. Daniele, some odd friendly results over the course of the weekend, the last week. Obviously, we saw England get beat. We saw France draw. We saw Portugal get beat. Does it mean anything, the last warm-up games? Should bettors not take any sort of notice of what's gone on over the course of the last week or two in the prep matches?
Means nothing but the result of the match, and that's it. Who wants to get injured before a major tournament? Probably nobody. And there is the old saying, don't pick too early. Well, certainly England haven't picked too early. Italy, just a 1-0 win. Spain, perhaps in a better form, but then it depends who you play against as well. No, I think you can't read too much. I don't think he add more pressure. The most important news is that, probably you haven't missed any of the big players who picked up an injury. So, that should guarantee the best possible show that we can see.
We're going to talk about the major nations, and then we'll get some picks as we go from our 3 cappers. Plenty of interesting selections from the boys to come. We've got to talk about the favourites, Nigel, first of all, which are England. They're plus 350 with Bet Rivers. they were bigger ahead of the previous European Championships, and the final then was played at Wembley. A lot of the games England played were played in England. Why are they shorter now? I don't really get that. Are they a better team now? What's your take on England?
I think a couple of reasons for them. I do think there's the emergence of some really world-class players that England had in 4 years. Jude Bellingham, obviously, is probably one of the most exciting talents in world football, a contender for Ballon d'Or. I think he's going to come just short from his teammate Vinicius Junior, but the emergence of Jude Bellingham has been essential for England. Phil Foden, Player of the Year in the UK as well, has had a stellar season. I think that is why. Also, I believe that England will be the most heavily bet side in this tournament by none, because the English people get behind their team. People like the England, they watch Premier League all around the world. The Americans will watch the Premier League more than they would watch the Serie A, and they watch the Bundesliga, and they would just probably have a bet on the Premier League because they know the players. So there is always a huge liability with the bookmakers when England play in a major tournament. So they're usually, and on this occasion they are, lower than what they should be. England, for years and years and years, I've followed England at six major. This will be my sixth tournament. I've followed England home and away. And I've usually gone in quite optimistic. Hopefully, this team have got to make the final. That's it. This is the first time the pressure's on this England side. They've got away with them for many, many times. They've got to make the final. And I think their route, if they do win the group, is tough. And if you work out mathematically their route from the quarter-final stage, match by match, just at the quarter-final stage, I make them around about plus 450 just to get through those three matches. I mean, they've got to play Italy in the quarterfinals. We've never ever beaten Italy in any major championships. Daniel, you stop laughing. We've never ever beaten it. We've never beaten Italy in any.
You
major
beat us in the qualifiers though twice.
Yeah, but you've never beaten a major tournament. Never beaten. Then you've got to play. We've got to play potentially France in the semi-final, and then England have got to play Germany, likely, or another in Germany. If you work out that, it's a lot bigger than the actual current odds of England to win the tournament. And for years and years and years, especially in recent years, we've been very critical of Gareth Southgate. I've been very critical of him, and I think he's gone completely the wrong, totally the opposite of what you expect from Gareth Southgate. And I worry about this England squad. I worry about the lack of experience that we have on this England squad. I think Grealish is a shock decision, and I don't agree with it. I think Marcus Rashford wasn't even the top 30 players in the UK. When he come onto the bench, when he became in England, when he came off the bench in the World Cup in Qatar, he changed the game. Look around. If your game is not going, Gareth Southgate his criticism is not the most of tactical geniuses, and I think there's a lot better coaches tactically than Gareth. Management is number one. Tactically, I think he's got problems. And when he looks at that bench and that experience, and you're 1-0 down in the European Championship semi-final against France, what are you going to do? Where are you going to change? What are you going to do? And I really think England here are very, very low. There'd be nothing better for me. I've 6 tournaments, as I said. I've followed England. The first memory of England was in the 1982 World Cup. I've got 6 England shirts there. I've got to be wearing them every single day. And I'd love England to win a major tournament in my lifetime. But this is the best opportunity. But the odds they have, they are absolutely no value whatsoever at the current price with Bet Rivers.
Steve, what's your take on England here? Don't get sucked in at short prices. What price would you want?
It's a good question.
5 to 1.
I was thinking this last night. I mean, at the price, they're probably a big fade, really, aren't they? Let's be honest. England shouldn't be the outright clear favourites for the tournament. There's too many question marks for me for a clear favourite. If we look at the actual squad itself, it's a good squad, but there's left back. I've got a major concern. I think actually Harry Maguire being ruled out of the tournament is a big concern. He's never let England down. If something went wrong with Jordan Pickford, I think there's a massive drop off after him. Obviously, England have got a lot of qualities in midfield and attack. The manager, I think there's always a question mark about the manager. England have made a lot of progress since 2018, but now the expectation is you are the favourite to win. You've got to win the tournament. A semi-final appearance isn't good enough, is it? So, what price would I want? Yeah, looking 5 or 6 to 1. I think Dan really would be fairer. I absolutely don't deny England are one of the top 4 best teams, at this Euro 2024, but. At this current odds, Yeah, there'd have to be a lay for me, Dan. And that hurts me saying that, as an English.
Just one thing, the lay terminology in American terminology means to oppose, to fade. So, it's different. Lay in America means that you're betting them. So if Steve refers to a lay there, it means to fade. The one thing you said there, Steve, is England. I think England have got one of the best 11s in the team, in the tournament. England's at 11 is social midfield and attacking mind. They're the best, most attacking. The England game's going to be amazing. But this squad is not in the top 5 squads, I don't think. I think there's 3 or 4. Their starting 11 is fantastic. You talk about injuries. If Harry Kane got injured, England are in big trouble. Big trouble. Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, okay, he's done it at home to Brentford. He's done it at home. This is a big ask. You take out look at the England squad, right? If you take Harry Kane out of the England squad, the next top goal scorer in this England squad is Saka with 11 goals. After that, it's 4 goals. There's only 2 people who have got double-figure goals for England. He's taken a huge amount of experience out, and Gareth Southgate's been a safe hand. He's never gambled. This is a big gamble, and I worry about the strength we have on the bench in tight match-winning situations, game-playing situations where Southgate has been found out before. I worry. I can't see the French being really worried with Ivan Toney coming on with 10 minutes to go to get an equaliser.
Well, they'll be worried if we got a penalty. At least.
Well, Kane missed one against France.
Well, that's probably the only reason that Ivan Toney's in the squad. But I worry about him.
Look. We've got 2 Englishmen fading England. What about an outsider looking in here? Daniele, give us your take.
I think England are one of the favourites, and rightly so. The quality and the talent that they have at the disposal, not many other teams can match. And I think they qualified in style, and the process of evolution under Gareth Southgate is really positive. Third in Russia, the final in the last Euros, the quarterfinals against France at the World Cup, they played really well, probably one of the best games they played in years. But yeah, it's about the tight margins, and it's about doing it consistently against top sides, which some of these English players haven't quite done. What concerns me a little bit about Southgate is that the whole process and the whole qualifying campaign was driven towards solving 3 issues, basically. Who plays a centre-back, who plays a left-back, and who's the third midfield. You are weekend into the turn before the tournament starts, and still there are doubts about it. Why Braithwaite is not in the squad, for example. Was Duncan Gomez got more than him? You are left to sweat over Luke Shaw fitness, and I can't believe there is no other better left-back in the country than Trippier, adapted a left-back, which, by the way, I think is good. Is good enough. But is he going to be good enough to win you the championship? And then, of course, it's about getting back into the plan B situation. I look at Bowen, Palmer, Toney, Watkins. These are players that you're going to put in when you're going to lose. So you're going to throw them all into the mix when England are behind. But what if this game is really tight at 0-0? Who's going to be your chief creator? Who's going to be the one that unlocks the defense? I'm more shocked about the exclusion of Maddison. I know his form wasn't great in the last few months, but I think it could have been the player to give the key pass and to unlock tight defense. Perhaps even more than Grealish, if you like, who plays a little bit more on the side. Having said that, England definitely favourites, should be favourites alongside France. But I do agree with Nigel said, with the narrative Nigel said, the price, it is very short in such a competitive tournament.
We have gone on about England for far too long, but very quickly, is there any value at all with any of these prices? Top 2 plus 135, Nigel, to make the semi-finals minus 190 at very short. Kane minus 137, top goal scorers. Steer clear of England. Is that what we're saying?
Harry Kane to be the top England goal scorer is the best bet you want to bet with England. I mean, he's got 62 goals. The next person's got 11. The one after that's got 4. He's going to play every minute that England play, and any time he's going to take it off is if they get.
What's everyone's gut about when England are going to go? Forget the prices. Nigel? What's you got? Semis. Daniele.
Semi-finals, and then. Anything can happen.
And Steve?
Yeah, semi-final as well.
Glorious failure again?
Yeah.
Seems to be the way. Let's move on to France. We're running late already, but we'll get the boys' thoughts on France, who should be favourites. They're plus 400 with Bet Rivers to make the final plus 150. Then we get serious minus money for quarters and so on. When it comes to France, Steve, runners-up at the last World Cup, I mean, should they be favourites here for the European Championships? They were the best European team at the last major tournament.
They should be the favourites, in my opinion. Very least, joint favourites. I mean, could that still even happen? What do you think, Nigel? Could the narrative heading into the tournament, could there be a downer on England? Could it become a joint favourite? Potentially.
England will drift even bigger. England will go off at $4 and it'll be the joint favourites.
Yeah.
And I think another couple of teams on the outsiders will get money from in the build-up as well.
Yeah, I think France certainly deserve it. Look at what they've done. Won the World Cup in 2018. Runners-up in the last World Cup. They've won. This is the tournament that they want to win now. They failed to do it on home turf. Everyone expected them to do it against Portugal in 2016, didn't they? That didn't happen. They're just very proven. Apart from the only real failure Didier Deschamps has had was the when he got knocked out by Switzerland, I think it was, wasn't it? In the last Euros.
That's right,
yeah.
And they were leading in that game. They should have won that game. They conceded 2 late goals.
That's the only one. That's the only time they've let everyone down. And I think the thing is, though, Bettors won't forget that. They were a big favourite, weren't they, in that tournament? And that's probably where there's a bit of doubt amongst the Bettors. But I love a proven winning machine that have done it before, that can go deep, a manager that has an incredible history of winning trophies wherever he's been. He's got a fantastic history. So yeah, answer to your question, Dan, I think they should be the favourites. For me personally, they're the side to beat.
Daniele, what's your thoughts on France? Got the best player in the world in Kylian Mbappe. Potentially, Didier Deschamps won this tournament as a player, and he's won the World Cup as a coach. Everything seems to be pointing in the direction of Les Bleus.
And under the Deschamps, we haven't seen the French camp imploding as we used to see in other opportunities. Obviously, he's a very good manager, and he's very consistent. They reached also the finals of the Nations League twice. Once they won it against Italy. So they've always been there at the top. You cannot really identify any gaps or any weak spot in this French side. But of course, they got plenty of options up front. Maybe a little bit of a question mark on the midfield. I mean, he recalled N'Golo Kante, who went to play in Saudi Arabia, and that was the shock recall, probably because he doesn't really trust Zaire Emery or Rabiot to do the job. But apart from that, really, it seems that they have no faults. It depends also what kind of mood Mbappe is going to be. Big summer move for him this season, going to Real Madrid. Is going to be the tournament where he's going to be obviously having a shot at the Ballon d'Or as well. But yeah, I mean, France should be in the top 4. I think they look much more certain than other nations.
Yeah, Nigel, they were slightly bigger for the previous European Championships. There's not too many weaknesses here. I mean, Saliba might not be first choice. It's a bit odd for me, but there's a lot of positives with the French, isn't there?
Huge amount of positives. So I think there'd be plus 250 if on the other side of the draw. The fact they're playing England in the semi-finals, potentially, that's why England and France are the price they are. If they were on the other side of the draw, they'd be a very, very low price favourite. The draw was probably favourable for them to the last Euros. Their defensive, you look at the defensive quality, the best defender in the Premier League, who played every minute of the Premier League, Saliba can't get in the team. That just shows you how strong they are. What we would give England to have Saliba in our team, I mean, that would be unbelievable. But then you talk about the defence, the goalkeeping, they've got a brilliant goalkeeper. The Milan goalkeeper's been fantastic this season. They've got goals up front. We're talking about England again. I'm referring to England quite a lot because obviously the team I follow most. But our backup strikers, Tony and Watkins, have 4 goals between them internationally. Between Mbappe, Griezmann and Giroud, they've got 147 goals between the three of them on the international stage. So when you think you've got the best defence, probably one of the best goalkeepers in the tournament, and you've got 147 goals, you can bring off the bench and change the game at any given stage, score goals in big tournaments, won World Cups. I mean, if England started favourites against these in the semi-final, then I'd have to bet the French. But England did push them close in the last World Cup, a game I was at. But I just think the French here, I think they deserve to be shorter price favourites than England, and I think they're going to be in the mix for sure.
Yeah, but however, nobody's tipping them up. Steve, Nigel, Daniele, no one's tipped. Nigel, why aren't we tipping?
Well,
France?
it's the route, isn't it? It's the route again. It's that bottom half. If we have the route that pans out that we expect it to pan out, while the favourable of the odds, then the French at the current lines of 4-1. Aren't that much value because the England game will be a pick and match. If they were in the top half of the draw and they were 3-1 or 250, or they went into that side of the draw, then we might bet them. But I think the route is tough, and they've got quite a tricky group. They've got the Netherlands in the group. Yeah. Poland I think were a big fade to this tournament, but they've got a tricky group. Austria will go well, so they might not even go through as group winners. Holland could surprise. It's a tough match. Holland against Netherlands against France.
I think they're a fair price. Dan.
Just very quickly, go on, Steve.
I think they're a fair price, right?
Fair.
But there's no value in them because again the route is so difficult. It's been factored in to some respects, but that's why you're not seeing a lot of picks with them. But I suspect if you asked 50 people, you give them a free $10 bet just to win it, a lot would be picking France.
Daniele, just why would you not tip them just on the price?
Yes, just based on the price and what Nigel said, the draw, it could be massive, and yeah, there could be some surprises as well.
Just one thing, Dan, if you do think France are going to win, you're going to have Mbappe going to the tournament. You probably get better value to bet Mbappe to be the player of the tournament rather than France to win it, because the chances are that he will win the player of the tournament if they win the tournament, and he's much bigger than them to win it. Yeah,
he is favourite to be player of the tournament at 6-1 plus 600. Yeah. For people's information there. It's not the bad shout, sometimes those related bets. We are going to get some picks though, because we move on to Germany, who are plus 550 to win, to make the final plus 275, semis plus 110, and quarters, well, they're serious minus money. Nigel, they were bigger in the autumn. They've had one or two issues, or they did have one or two issues. Hansi Flick was in charge, of course. Now Julian Nagelsmann, things have turned around to a certain extent. But you are siding with the host. Talk us through your Germany play.
Yeah, they're my bet to win the tournament. Start off with it. I think they've got a decent group. They start off against Scotland. I think they'll beat Scotland fairly comfortably. Then they suddenly build on that. The country gets behind them with the win. I think it'll be an impressive win as well. I think that they've got some really emerging talents. Musiala, and they've got Wirtz as well. Absolutely superb young talents. Leverkusen have had an unbelievable season. Obviously, this season getting to the final, obviously Atalanta beat them, and obviously that unbeaten run as well by Munich. Dortmund to the final of the Champions League, but there are not many Dortmund players playing in it. He hasn't picked many Dortmund players in this squad at all. Nagelsmann, I think, is a top quality coach. I think they'd be really, really entertaining. And the two main reasons for my play as well is that I think that they've got goals from all over the place, this German side. They've got goals. They've got a nice mixture of youth and experience as well. Obviously, Neuer is in goal as well, and real great experience in goal. Kimmich as well, who's got a huge amount of experiences in that part. But I do think the two main factors for this play, and the line has changed. I mean, they were 9-1, 8-1, and the money has come in for it. That section of the top half of the draw, I think, is going to be the weaker section. I think you're going to get Portugal, Spain, and you're going to get it up the top there, Germany. So you're going to get a big price, a decent price about the each way. So if you've got the each way part, you're going to get a nice price on someone to get to the final. Host nations in Europe, in European championships, is so important. So important. If we go back through since 1964 and look at the nations who hosted the Euros, and I'm saying England hosted it last time, even though they didn't. They played all their home games in England. If you look at since 1964, no team has hosted it who has a realistic chance of winning it. I'm not talking about Poland or Ukraine, or I'm talking about Switzerland or Austria. Teams that actually had a realistic chance of winning it. You've had 10 Euros. 3 of them have won it. 3 of them have got to the final, and 4 of them have got to the semi-final. No side has not got to a semi-final. Home advantage is absolutely massive. 2021, England's runner-up. 2016, France were runner-up. 2004, Portugal runner-up. Winners were France in 84, Italy in 68, Spain in 64. All teams that had a realistic chance of winning it. And I do think we underestimate home advantage massively. And I think the Germans will put on a great tournament, and they will be very, very heavily supported by their home nation. You only had to go to Wembley to see the support that the Dortmund fans gave their team to show what they're going to get there. And the other reason is that draw. I think that draw opens them up. I think they have an easy group. I think they'll win the group. I think they may struggle a little bit of Hungary. I think Hungary could be a team that could do well in this tournament. But I think Germany will go through unbeaten. Then they'll get confidence. A decent manager who's managed at the top level, unlike Gareth Southgate. I know he's a young manager, only had 8 games in charge of the national side, but one of those 8 games he went to Paris and he won 2-0 as well. So I think Germany, home advantage, never underestimate that in the European Championships, and I think Germany will go deep, and they'll be my winners of the Euro 2024.
Plus 550, plus 110 just to make the semis. Some good stats from Nigel regarding that particular prop. Daniele, what's your take on Germany?
Improving, a bit work in progress, a bit like Italy, but unbeaten in 4. First official game in charge for Nagelsmann will be the debut at the Euro. Plenty of quality in midfield, probably a little bit light up front, lacking a striker, but Fulkrug looks good if he gets the good service. And going back to the home advantage, I read that since the last 8 or 9 editions of the Euros, the home team had an advantage of 0.45 goals per game. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to win every single game, but that counts and it's been proven. So you might want to bet on the Germany games to go over 2.5. You want to bet on both teams to score. They're going to score. I agree, they have an easy group, probably an easy route into round of 16. Semi-final at least. I think it looks good for them.
Steve, what's your thought? I mean, Daniele mentioned Fulkrug there. Don't know if he's going to start. Might be Havertz. I mean, to me, there's a question mark striker there. What's your take on Germany?
Well, as we might find out in the top scorer show, I do quite like Kai Havertz at this tournament. I tell you what's going to happen with Germany. They will create quite a lot of chances. This manager, historically, they're going to put on a show. They're quite an entertaining side. He tends to play the type of football that's going to put bums on seats and, as I say, put some entertainment value. So whoever is, starting up front or in the shadow striker role or whatever, the false nines that the Germans like to do over the years, they will certainly get opportunities. And home advantage is massive. I mean, I got completely burnt in the African Nations Cup earlier in the season. I was constantly against Ivory Coast. Didn't really rate them, but they just kept getting over the line. I think home advantage was a massive thing. The nation getting behind them, and they could build momentum here. That's an interesting word, isn't it? But they could. I think they've got a nice group, like Nigel said. They should get through, and then from there, the whole country can get behind this outfit. So the interesting thing is, if this was not in Germany, I don't think anyone really would be looking at them. They'd probably be about 10-1, maybe even bigger. But it's worth a lot. That's an interesting stat Daniele came up with. That was it 0.45 goals per game. Advantage. That's a big thing. That's a really big thing. So I do expect the Germans to go well. Could win it. No host nations actually won this since France in '84, I don't think. But at the end of the day, do they have the extra bit of quality that sort of England, France, or Portugal perhaps have? But I think they will go deep.
Just one negative for you. They haven't won a major tournament knockout match since 2016.
Well, don't talk us out of it.
No, but that's the only concern. I mean, I just think I think they're young. I think they'll grow as the tournament goes on. I think you only get some superstars of the tournament from this German side who may not go in as world stars, will come out as world stars.
Yeah, speaking of superstars, Ronaldo for Portugal, of course, has been a star for them, but he's 39 years old now. Can he lead Portugal to glory? We've got the full house from the boys here. Germany for Nigel, but also, Nigel, you like Portugal, as Daniele and Steve do. So, give us and give bettors the reasons why we should be playing at Portugal at plus 750. Steve, you can go first for this one. I mean, Roberto Martinez in charge. I mean, he couldn't get Belgium over the line. Why is he going to get Portugal over the line?
Yeah, so my official winner's pick is Portugal, plus 750 at the time of recording with Bet Rivers. I'm actually going each way here. Bet Rivers offer the each way terms. Not all. You've got to check your books here. It's not sure everyone in America will be offering this, Nigel.
Yeah, you can get top two to make the final effectively.
So plus 750, I think it's a great price on Portugal. They're in the draw. We go back to the draw again. If they win the group, and again, I think that their group is really straightforward. There's nothing that worries me in their group at all. I think they've got a load of lower-ranked sides in there. Georgia, the lowest-ranked side in the competition. Turkey never convinced me defensively. So I think they'll certainly win the group, hopefully get on the right side of the draw. And, if that happens, that they wouldn't actually face another group winner till the semi-finals. It's a really soft section, indeed, potentially. So that's definitely one of the reasons I really like it. The squad is loaded. It's, you look across the whole field, really. There's not too many question marks, is there? They've got really strong options in midfield, especially. I really love, say, the bite of someone like João Paulinho. Bruno Fernandes, I think, is going to have a fantastic tournament. Ronaldo, there's a lot said about him. Some think, he shouldn't start for them, whatever. But I think Roberto Martinez has probably got the best out of him. He knows he's got a talismanic striker up front there. And, the manager himself, I know he's known for having some failures at international level with Belgium, that he didn't lead the Belgians over the line with their golden generation. But he gave it a good crack, didn't he? You know, third place in the World Cup. Not too many teams can say that. The last World Cup was a problem for Martinez, but I think it was more to do with their actual squad. He's really done well since he's took over. I think the 100% record in qualifying, full of goals. Actually got a decent defence as well. I mean, the likes of Ruben Diaz in there, João Cancelo. I think it's a great price, plus 750. I think is a definite value. They should be shorter for me. I think they should be around the 5-1 mark. So very happy to take them here on the each-way terms.
Daniele, as Steve was pointing out, 10 wins from 10 in qualifying, only team to do that. You like them, and also with a little bit of a prop bet as well.
Yeah, I like them to go all the way to win the Euros, but also to finish in the top 4, place plus 150. I think is a very good pick there. Martinez has changed Portugal. They shrug off the tag of defensive side they had under Fernando Santos. He can use the squad, but it's no longer Ronaldo's Portugal. It's Bruno Fernandes' Portugal, of course. He's the linchpin, the man that makes them take over. But look at the quality they got up front. Gonzalo Ramos, Diogo Jota, the Atletico Madrid striker as well. And if you remember in the last World Cup in the round of 16, Fernando Santos didn't start Ronaldo. He started with Gonzalo Ramos, scored 3 goals in the knockouts, and that paved the way for the times to come. And the fact to have Ronaldo there is such a great boost. But he's a solid side, plenty of quality. I almost compare them to France in terms of the quality they got up front. If they get a bit smarter at managing games. In the last Euros, a bit disappointed that elimination 1-0 against Belgium. But if they get a bit smarter there with a bit more experience, I think they can go minimum until the semi-final.
Yes, plus 150 to make the semis, plus 350 top 2, plus 750. Nigel, you're weighing in with this one as well, even though Ronaldo is 39. I mean, is he going to start? I don't know. What's your Portugal take here? What's the reason?
Well, I think they want the UEFA one in there, don't they? Those shirts, everyone wants it now. I think it's a very brave decision to not. I don't think he'll be starting though. I think he'll play a bit part. I was at the game where he didn't play in Qatar, and they played Switzerland and won 6-1, and Portugal were absolutely unbelievable that night without him. And I come away thought they could win the World Cup. I was so impressive, and then they got beat by Morocco, and Ronaldo played in that match, didn't he? So I think if Ronaldo wasn't in the team, I think they've got a better chance in the squad, a better chance. But I think he's probably going there knowing that he's going to play a bit part. I don't think he's going to go there with the ego of Ronaldo anymore. Might come out if in the semi-final or final. But I'm not quite sure. I think he might realise that he might. It was a grace and be there. You got to remember when they won it, he wasn't there, was he? He was on the bench.
No,
it was John Terry leading the celebrations and doing nothing. But I really do like their squad. I think they've got a great squad. They've got goals in them. Only 4 players in this squad actually play in Portugal, which shows you how vast they are now. All these players are really doing well in all the top leagues across Europe. They're a real quality squad. They've got goals in them. Portuguese teams before were so reliant on Ronaldo that no one else could score. A bit like England with Harry Kane. Now that's not the case. They've got goals from everywhere. Bruno Fernandes has been unbelievable recently. Obviously, you've got the midfield as well. It's just one of the best midfields in the competition. Great to watch. I'm worried about the manager. I do worry about the manager. I just a bit like sort of Southgate. I know he's done well internationally, but I just can't get my head around that he was manager of Wigan and now he's going to manage the European Championship team. The favourites. But I'm going for them because I want to oppose that bottom half of the draw. I want to oppose the England-France, and for me, I expect the Portugal-Germany semi-final, and then my strategy is to have one finalist. And I got a feeling that if you got a game like England-France as a semi-final, I think you could get suspensions. I think you could get players missing, or you could go all the way to penalties because it'd be a real nervy match. Whereas I think they could be leg weary going into a final, and I think whoever comes through in the top half might be a little bit fresher. So that's my strategy here: trying to pick 2 in the semi-finals in the top half, and hopefully it'll be Germany v Portugal, and hopefully I'm not at the match with anti-post vouchers on those 2 when they play in England. I won't know what to do.
Just very quickly on a couple of other nations before we get some other picks. A word on Spain from you all here. Are they under the radar a little bit here, Steve? They're plus 800 with Bet Rivers. They won the Nations League, most recent edition. Just a quick line.
I like Spain. I really like the direction they're going in. This feels like a tournament too soon. I think there's some players are a bit raw. I think give them 2 or 4 more years. I think there's going to be some serious superstars in this squad. They lack He's always like a goal scorer, and I think the same thing seems to happen to Spain in every tournament recently. Is that they play really well. Guarantee at some point someone will say they look like the winner, and they probably go out in a fashion again where they outplay someone but find a way to lose, or extra time, even penalties. That's how it goes with Spain. So just think they're a bit too raw, and something will probably go wrong. But I do like the direction they're heading in.
Minus 177 just to make the top 8, the quarterfinals. It's heavy minus money, but it is Spain after all. Nigel, Steve mentioned it for me. Another team maybe without a proper striker. Morata's got a good record, but when I see him play, he never really impresses me. Quick line on Spain from you.
Well, I think it's about the draw they've been given, isn't it? I mean, they've got the toughest group of the lot. They've got Italy, they've got Croatia. Poor old Albania. I mean, they're going to really struggle in that group, but they could quite easily finish third in that group. It could go down to goal difference. And the thing is, with Spain,
qualify though.
Yeah, but then it gives them a tougher match, isn't it? So it's a real tougher match. So I think it's difficult to see. The draw is the reason why they're the price they are. They're great to see on the eye. They'll create 50 chances, but they won't put any of them away. I think Gavi's a big blow, missing as well. So that is a big problem for them. If someone said to me now, Spain, what would I do? I'd rather bet them not to make the quarterfinals than to go deep, because I think there's a good possibility that they won't be clinical enough and could end up finishing third in the group.
Interesting. Maybe a side to fade. Daniele, quickly from you on Spain. Not quite the right timing, maybe. What are your thoughts?
Defense probably still the weak spot with Laporte and Lenormand, not necessarily the best centre-backs, but the best midfielder in Europe, Rodri. Although he's not a match winner, he doesn't play in a position that win you the matches, but they will control the ball well. And then, of course, up front, the excitement is Yamin Lamal on a side and Nico Williams on the other side. Finally, somebody pacey who can run in behind. If they got the cutting edge and put some crosses in for Morata or Oyarzabal, who's been in good form, maybe Spain are onto something. I think they'll qualify from the group. For sure.
I was going to halt the team previews about now, but because Daniele's on the show, I thought I'm duty bound to include Italy. Plus the fact that they are defending champions, but they drifted to plus 1,600. Daniele, are you getting the same vibes going into this tournament that you were back in 2021? Give us the Italian take here. Should we be playing them at plus 1,600, plus 600 to make the final, plus 300 semi-final? Give us the lowdown.
I don't think... no, first of all, no, I don't think you should back them to make the semi-final or the final. Italy have changed the manager halfway through the qualifying campaign and went for Spalletti. Spalletti is trying to do something really sophisticated. He wants his players to play a certain system, to be unpredictable, but also have some patterns of play, which, it takes time to bed in. If he manages to do it, it will be nice to watch. It will be entertaining. It will be a little bit of mini Napoli from last season, but this is only the 7th, 8th game that he's managing, and you can tell that the synchronism is not quite there. Now, in terms of quality, I don't think the team is too far off from the one we had 3 years ago, but we have the same problem. We don't have a star player. We don't have a goal scorer, although Scamacca has done a good season towards the end, and we are missing the two marshals at the back, Chiellini and Bonucci. Hence, our plan B this time cannot just go back and defend and go under the caution. They will defend with everything. This time, I think we need to try and overplay and overcome the difficulties with a style of play with the enthusiasm as well, which perhaps is not quite there with what happened with Mancini. It's hard to qualify from the group. There are 3 nations, Italy, Croatia, Spain, in the top 10 of the FIFA ranking. And then you got Albania, who's the second lowest ranked team, but still a team that won their qualifying group. Italy, I think they might struggle even to get to 4 points, to be fair.
It's a strange one as well with that Albanian game, isn't it, Daniele? Because that Albania-Italy, there is a connection there. There's a lot of Albanians who have played in Italy. And
over 10.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if they want to win one game, it might be that one. So that group's going to be difficult. Nigel, Steve, anything to add for Italy?
To be honest with you, I was glad Daniele was on because I didn't really know much about Italy, to be honest with you. I mean, they've had a brilliant season in terms of the European football. They're going to have more teams in European football next season, so they're going to come in with some confidence as well. And, the Italian side, they've got to change their way of playing because they were so reliant on those two central defenders that they've had for years and years and years, and now they might be a little bit more open. The manager might be a little bit more open. I think that group could be very, very tight. I think it can come down to goal difference, and I think that if someone could sneak win the group, then you might have to rebase. But I think if they get third or second, their route to the latter stages becomes very, very tough. It's essential for someone to win that group to open up the potential of an easier passage through to the latter stages. But I think that group, I wouldn't be looking at anyone long term in that group because it's so hard to predict.
Steve?
Hardest group to predict in terms of your top three, but they're all going to beat Albania in my opinion. So I don't think we need to worry about anyone getting knocked out in the group stage. My problem for Italy is that I just think I think a really top nation will find them out just in terms of overall squad quality and just a lack of goals, lack of a really good number 9. And that's a theme, isn't it, for a lot of teams, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just Italy.
We've got 3 more plays that we're going to give you. They're not to win the European Championship, but Steve and Daniele are just going to fill us in with a few quickfire bets here. Steve, Croatia and Ukraine you are taking to progress. Just talk us through your 2 plays.
Yeah, this is in the top 8 market to reach the quarterfinals. I like Ukraine at plus 300 and Croatia plus 250, I think it is now. Ukraine, I quite like the spine of the team. If you look, they've got a good goalkeeper. It's going to be Lunin or Truben. You've got the likes of Michaelenko, Zinchenko. They've actually got goals in them. The 2 Girona lads have had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
Dovbyk and the guy that I can never pronounce him, but we'll give him a go. Shikankov.
Easy.
It's a tough
Don't
one.
make
It's
the
a
show
really
R-rated.
tough one, that. But so I think they've got a decent spine. I actually like the draw as well. It's interesting that runner-up of their group, and I think they will be runner-up behind Belgium, will face the runner-up of the French group, which I believe will probably be Netherlands. I don't really rate the Netherlands under Ronald Koeman. So I'm quite happy to take a nibble of them there at 3-1 to make the quarterfinals. As for Croatia, one of them teams, I don't think the draw will even bother them. They are a nitty-gritty side who in the last few tournaments have always given their backers a run for their money. Do you know what I mean? This is a side that's so hard to put down and defeat. You never know when they're beaten. They've got I think we probably said it for the last 2 tournaments. This is the last chance for these elder generation, but they do have some good younger players coming through as well. It's a tough group, like I said, but I think everyone comes out of that group, and then from that point onwards, no one's really. You wouldn't draw Croatia in the knockout phase and be happy. I don't think it would always. If England drew Croatia, I'd be looking at that and I'd be thinking, they're really awkward. It's an awkward side. So I think to reach the quarterfinals at that sort of price, plus 250, I think it's very much worth a go. They're just a side that they will give you a good run for your money, Dan.
And Daniele, the Belgians you're siding with.
Yeah, it's a bit dark horse territory because obviously the golden generation has faded. But, under Domenico Tedesco, they've been absolutely solid, qualified well. Up front, they got a lot of creativity with the likes of Openda, Doku, still, of course, the service of De Bruyne. The only question mark is, can you really get rid of the best goalkeeper in the world? It's a good idea.
Crazy.
So it's a bit crazy for me to think about it. But, man stuck to a principle, Courtois calling Pinocchio, so you can go back to that, Anyway, I think quarter-finals, they should be able to do it. They got good striker in Lukaku. He'll net a couple, I think.
Minus 112, Belgium top 8. I've seen that posted on social media as one of the best bets around, incidentally, so the price might go. Nigel, an outsider to follow, a team that might surprise, just a bit of a lead, maybe one to stay with on certain matches in the groups. What do you think? Anything to offer?
Well, 2 teams I quite like on Asian handicaps or goal lines, or maybe even pull a couple of shots. I do like the Ukrainians as well. Steve, I think they'll be everyone's second favourite team for the tournament, so I think they're going to have support wherever they go, and I think they've got the quality on the pitch as well to back that up. The Girona boys up front will obviously looking for a big move to the Premier League. They've been linked with some Premier League clubs as well, so I think they're going to have a real incentive to go and improve. And I think a lot of Ukrainians will look to try to move across Europe this summer. So I think if you look at the players who are trying to get away from their domestic leagues, I think the Ukrainian side will be very motivated. And the other team I think will do okay. And they were on a great unbeaten run until they got shock defeat by Ireland last week. I think Hungary will do all right. I think they'll come through that group in second place with Germany. And I think they'll give people a little bit of a match. I think they can go underneath the radar. So, yeah, Hungary and Ukraine would be the 2 sides that I think. I don't think they get it to quarterfinals, or maybe one of them could get to quarterfinals, but they could definitely be involved on the Asian handicaps. Hungary could give Germany a bit of a game, and I think Ukraine have got goals in them, so they could be quite an entertaining watch as well.
Let's just remind everyone, though, of the selections when it comes to the winner of Euro 2024. Nigel, you've got two teams to follow. They are...
Yeah, I'm just keeping it very simple. I'm trying to get the dream semi-final in the top half of the draw and get through to the final and hope the bottom half of the draw has some injuries or some problems. And my two are Germany at plus 550 and Portugal at plus 750 in Euro 2024.
Daniele?
I stick with Portugal, 7 Nigel plus 750 to win the Euros, and outside bets Portugal to make the top 4 plus 150, or Belgium to make it the top 8 minus 112.
Steve?
Yeah, Portugal to win the tournament plus 750, that's each way, and then Ukraine and Croatia to reach the quarterfinals.
That wraps up Betting Weekly Extra Time Euro 2024 edition. We've got more futures previews to come. We've got top scorer, best props, all the group previews as well coming your way. And we will be with you throughout the tournament with the best picks match by match. So stay with us on the road to Berlin. Many thanks to Nigel, to Steve and Daniele. For now, though, from all of us, it's goodbye.
Ciao.